Welcome back to Toyota Sports Talk, joined now by Washington Post sports reporter Jake Russell. Jake, as always, good to see you, my friend.
Likewise. Thanks for having me.
I believe the last time we talked, it was your birthday. It's not your birthday again, is it?
Not that I checked. No, it's not yet. We got about, 10 and a half more months to go.
That's right. Well, it's always good to see you. And I want to talk some baseball with you because, you know your stuff. You got a great book, which we'll get into that a little bit later. But the Washington Nationals approaching this offseason. And this is a pretty big offseason for this team, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, just looking at how competitive the NL East was last season and how prime pretty much the whole division is to take another step forward next year, it just puts that much more pressure on the Nats to not be complacent, not just to say, we won the World Series in 2019. We don't really have to do that much. No, you got to keep up with the Joneses. Every year's a different year. And whether you won a World Series title or not, everyone else is going to gun for that title. And no matter how good you think you are, there's always room to improve. So this offseason is going to be very important in that regard.
All right, you're Mike Rizzo. Priority number one, what is it?
I'd have multiple priorities. I wouldn't have just one singular one. I'd have a lot of needs I'd like to address, like a fourth or fifth starter, a left fielder with a good bat, preferably a George Springer type or a Marcell Ozuna, a middle infielder, kind of along the lines of Marcus Semien maybe. And if JT Realmuto isn't that costly, then yes, I would love to have him on my roster. If I'm Mike Rizzo, I would go after him. But I imagine he's going to command a pretty penny on the open market, especially with other NL East teams looking after him.
Jake, there's not too many players left on the roster that was a part of that World Series team. It's pretty amazing the turnover they've had. I think maybe 10, 11 players are on the roster that was on that World Series winning team.
Yeah, it's amazing what happens over the course of 13 months. A lot changes.
Yeah.
Well, it's just 12 and a half months now. It's not even it's just barely a full year. Yeah, it just goes to show, like to my earlier point, like the more things change, the more they stay the same, the more they change. You know, you have all these good players that helped you win this title, but the baseball world's not going to stop for you or for anybody else. That's just the way of the world in terms of sports. You know, you're not going to have the same people on the roster year in, year out, and you have to adapt and find a way to fill those holes and to make yourself better while losing pretty quality players.
This is the final year of Max Scherzer's contract. I mean, it is. I mean, I feel like it's gone by quickly, but I mean, it's amazing that this is his final year. I know he put his house on the market in McLean. Who knows what's going to happen after this year with Max, but this very well could be the final season of Max Scherzer in a Washington Nationals uniform.
And it just goes to show it's a pretty good thing they basically draft a pitcher in the first round every single year, because you have to prepare for life after Max. That's just been a wild ride with having him on this team. He's giving you everything you paid for and much more. And it's going to be really tough shoes to fill. And I hope fans don't expect a young guy to just step right in and fill those kinds of shoes. And I hope they provide a little bit of patience for whoever they expect to step in, whether it's, you know, any of the first round picks from the last few years, if they sign a big name free agent this year or next year. Those are going to be really big shoes to fill, and it's going to be very tough to fill that spot. But luckily for them, they've planned this in the regards of, we're prepared. We want to get a top-notch pitcher in the draft. Wherever we're drafting, we want one of the best pitchers available.
And I think you're right about getting a fifth starter. You look at the rotation, they got the three-headed monster still in Scherzer, Strasburg, and Corbin. You're going to lose Anibal Sanchez. I believe you're going to get Joe Ross back, but you're right. They need another arm.
Yeah, and you mentioned Joe Ross and the Fetties of the world. They've been given opportunities, but whether it's, you know, ineffectiveness or injuries, they just haven't stepped up and shown we're going to be that everyday fourth starter or fifth starter, and you can feel comfortable with that and you can rely on us day in and day out. They haven't shown that yet in the years that they've had to, you know, show their opportunities. They haven't cemented their spot yet. That's why a fourth or fifth starter is such a big deal in free agency, and they're looking for other options.
And let's be honest, Jake, it looks like this team is going to have to build around Juan Soto for the future. He's going to be the cornerstone of the franchise. He's going to be the face of the franchise. He's a guy that hopefully does not leave like a Bryce Harper did. You know, you're going to want to. This is the guy, Juan Soto. You're going to have to build your team around for the years to come.
Yeah, exactly. And I have to imagine that if there's any semblance of fiscal restraint from the Lerners and Mike Rizzo, it's probably preparing to give Juan Soto what he wants whenever his time comes in a few years. They're well aware of what he's going to command on the open market whenever he hits it, and he might even increase that value in the 2021 season, 2022 seasons. So I'm sure they're prepared for him. He's proven to them it was a smart decision to let Bryce Harper leave. And the finances right now have just worked so incredibly in Washington's favor. Okay, we let Bryce Harper leave for 300 million, and we keep Juan Soto for what, a few $100,000, and he's putting up these monster numbers that Bryce I don't think ever did when he was here. It's just been they're going to have to reward him for the the production to cost ratio from the last few seasons. They're like, all right, you gave us all this production for this little cost. Here's take this Brinks truck to the bank right
Right.
now.
Seriously. Rolling on up that brink. A lot of money in that truck. And Jake, the holiday season is right around the corner. And I believe you have a great gift idea for our wonderful viewers.
That's correct. And no offense to you ornament lovers, but it sure beats an ornament. It's 100 things Nationals fans should know and do before they die. Around this time last year, I was busy updating it. Now it's available for you all to get for Christmas this year. Head to jakerussellsports.com, click on the Nationals book tab, and you can get your World Series edition of 100 Things Nationals Fans Should Know and Do Before They Die. All copies are autographed and shipped within 24 hours. So you'll get your copies relatively quickly. It makes a fantastic gift for families and friends this holiday season.
That is what you call teeing it up and knocking it out of the park. Jake Russell, appreciate your time, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Have a good one.
All right, much more to come right here on Toyota Sports Talk. Stay with us.